Do you ever wonder why women have orgasms? I mean, there have been so many theories to push the egg down, to suck the sperm up, to make her more bonded with her mate. Well, one female researcher has written a book on female orgasm. Of course, it's called The Case for Female Orgasm. And you're going to be pretty surprised about why we evolved to have it. Welcome to Mating Matters, the podcast that looks at human behavior through a lens of evolutionary psychology. I'm Dr. Wendy Walsh. On this episode, the case for the female orgasm. Philosopher of Biology, Dr. Elizabeth Lloyd, is a faculty scholar at the Kinsey Institute for Research on Sex, Gender, and Reproduction at Indiana University. Her 2005 book, The Case of the Female Orgasm, exposed an anti-scientific bias in all the previous explanations for female orgasm. In fact, her book was such a cultural phenomenon that even Saturday Night Live did a skit on it. While that 2005 skit is not available on the internet, Saturday Night Live, reflecting our current ethos, has continued to explore the female orgasm in comedy, like this 2013 skit where Kristen Wiig appears as a news guest who can't stop orgasming.
It's a little embarrassing.
Yeah, I can imagine this is a very sensitive and personal topic.
Yes, it is. But hopefully by coming here, I'm able to shed some light on this very misunderstood condition. It's not as fun as it sounds. Before I got treatment, I was having 200 episodes a day.
And when you say episodes, you mean?
Head to toe screaming orgasms.
Oh.
Yeah.
To have on the podcast the woman who has spent most of her life studying female orgasm, Dr. Elizabeth Lloyd.
Hi, it's nice to be here today. Nice to talk with you.
It's such a pleasure. I always call my researchers from the Kinsey Institute the friends of the pod because the Kinsey Institute has been so good to us over the years of providing so many experts. And, you know, before we get into your book, and we definitely want to talk about female orgasm today, I read a lot about you. And I want to talk a little bit about your personal journey. I'm always curious to know what's behind the minds, if you will. You're originally from New Jersey. You got your BA in political theory at the University of Colorado, then on to Princeton for a PhD in philosophy, then teaching and researching at places like Berkeley, UC San Diego. And all I could think in my head was politics and philosophy. What a perfect intersection for a discussion of the female orgasm. What fascinated you most about the subject, and how did you get into it?
Well, I got into it accidentally, actually, because a very good friend of mine, we were having drinks late one night when I was in grad school, and she was trying to convince me to go out with older men, and I was kind of balking, and she was trying to convince me of their skills, and she said, and then she asked out of the blue, what's the evolutionary function of female orgasm anyway? And I said, I don't have the slightest idea, but I'll go look it up for you, because I was writing my PhD on evolutionary theory. And so I went to the library and a couple of days later and looked it up and found all these theories that were out there about it, but none of them were supported by any evidence except that I could find except one. And it seemed the least likely of them.
And there was also a common denominator with all the research you looked at. It was mostly operated by men, right?
Yeah, well, most of it, not quite all, but nearly all of it was actually, by men. And they definitely got the female orgasm all wrong.
And before we actually disclose to our listeners what is right about your theory of female orgasm, let's debunk some of the old theories first. Beginning with the theme of, I'll call it, men postulating about women's bodies, I would say the famed physician and author of The Psychology of Sex back in 1897, Havelock Ellis, we all studied him in graduate school, estimated that 75% of women suffered from hysteria that might include all kinds of quote-unquote female symptoms. Headache, forgetfulness, irritability, writing cramps, hot flashes, heaviness in the limbs, usage of coarse language, I love that one, severe cramping, difficulty breathing, desire for clitoral stimulation, hyperpromiscuity, mood swings, nausea. And what treatment did he prescribe, and many of other physicians at the time prescribe? Clitoral stimulation. Do you think vibrators were the solution to all the female problems of the time?
Well, they did go some way towards helping the women. Do what? I don't know. But yeah, they were definitely a relief for the women.
Here's a funny little trivia I found. So when the Industrial Revolution brought electricity into homes and people could finally have electrical devices, the very first device in the home was a sewing machine. The fifth was a female vibrator, and it wasn't until the 9th that we got a vacuum.
That's a beautiful piece of trivia. I love it.
So then we go into the next century, and Sigmund Freud picked up on Ellis's momentum, and he proposed that female pleasure and orgasm should center on the reproductive tract. He was all about that it being part of reproduction, and he said women that couldn't have a vaginal orgasm were frigid. Can you, Dr. Elizabeth Lloyd from the Kinsey Institute, clear this up in case there's somebody living under a rock? What percentage of women have orgasms vaginally?
Well, yeah, about it's between 10 and 20, a little over 20% that have reliable orgasms through just vaginal penetration, and about half of those also have simultaneous clitoral stimulation. So it's less than 10% who have what I like to call no hands.
A no hands orgasm.
Yeah, no hands orgasm with just vaginal stimulation, less than 10%.
Is it true that many women have so little of a G-spot that they don't even notice it exists?
Apparently there's a lot of, I believe that there's a lot of anatomical variation about that, yes. I mean, we don't think that it was under selection, so there is a huge amount of variation in what they can find, for example, on autopsy. Yes.
And we're going to break down under selection a little later. But let's go and debunk some of the theories that you were up against when you did your research and wrote the book, The Case for the Female Orgasm. First of all, orgasm as a pressure releaser, that these pelvic muscle contractions and hormonal surges were only designed to relieve pressure in women. Is that true?
Well, they do relieve a certain form of tension, but that doesn't appear to be their actual function, no.
Right. Okay. So a researcher at Rutgers University said orgasm as a pain reducer, maybe to reduce the pain of sex. Apparently, he found out that a woman's pain threshold increases during orgasm. Is that why we evolved to have orgasm?
Well, I really respect Commissaric's work, and he's done some brilliant research. But and I think that establishing that experimentally that our pain threshold goes up when we are very sexually excited and do have orgasm is a really interesting finding. But that certainly isn't why we have them.
Okay, moving on. I love this one. It's probably my favorite. Orgasm as a way to keep women loyal, the pair bond theory. In fact, you've said, so the theory basically says if women are having lots of orgasms in their relationship, then they will stick close to their mate and probably produce more children, so it has reproductive advantage. You don't think that's true, right?
Well, the tricky part of that one was that they said that the more that he has intercourse, the more she has orgasm. I mean, and we already went through that. It isn't true that the more he has intercourse, the more orgasm, the more she's going to stick around, because she's not going to have the orgasms. I mean, the evidence just goes against it.
Okay, so here's the next one, and this was the one I was taught in graduate school. Your book came out in 2005. I was in graduate school in 2002. Orgasm as an egg propellant, the downdraft theory, that these contractions were pushing eggs down to meet the sperm.
Well, all the alternative sucking up the sperm to meet the egg. Yeah, they go in both directions, the story is. And, I had 3 statisticians take a close look at all of those statistics, and they all used the same exact word to describe the stats that had been found on that. The word was garbage. Here's the truth. Sex research has shown that about 95% of men nearly always orgasm from intercourse, while, as Dr. Lloyd just told us, that number is much smaller for women. In fact, 30-some-odd% of women never have an orgasm from intercourse, and a middle 30 to 40% report only orgasming sometimes. But those facts don't change the preconceived notion that women should orgasm. That idea has launched 1 billion Oscar-worthy performances by women in the bedroom. In 1989, Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal broached the subject in When Harry Met Sally.
You are a human affront to all women, and I am a woman.
Hey, I don't feel great about this, but I don't hear anyone complaining.
Of course not. You're out the door too fast.
I think they have an okay time.
How do you know?
I mean, how do I know? I know.
Because they...
Yes, because they...
How do you know that they're really...
What are you saying? That they fake orgasm?
It's possible.
Get out of here.
Why? Most women at one time or another have faked it.
Well, they haven't faked it with me.
How do you know?
Because I know.
Oh. Right. That's right. I forgot. You're a man.
What is that supposed to mean?
Nothing. It's just that all men are sure it never happened to them, and most women at one time or another have done it, so you do the math.
Many male viewers of that movie might have been surprised to learn that it's pretty darn easy for a woman to fake an orgasm, even when she's in a crowded restaurant.
Oh. Ooh.
Are you okay?
Oh. Oh, God. Ooh. Oh, God. Oh. 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 Oh, God. Oh, yeah, right there. Oh. 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 Oh, God. Oh. Yes. 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 Oh. Oh, yes. 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 Oh. Yes. 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 Oh. 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 Oh, God. Oh.
I'll have what she's having.
In 1999, Sex and the City took on the topic when her friends advised Miranda not to fake orgasms.
Wow. Hey, is everything all right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure? Because you didn't come. Did you?
No.
Oh. Did I do something wrong tonight? Because, I mean, you came every other time. What? Hey, tell me.
Well, I didn't exactly come all those other times.
You faked it? Well, how many of the other times? All of the other times. Oh, do you have like a physical problem or something?
Me? What makes you assume it's me?
Oh, no offense. It's just nobody I've ever slept with has had to fake it.
You know, a lot of women fake it, and up until 5 minutes ago, you didn't know that I was faking it, so...
What would he say? All the women I've ever slept with have been faking it?
We'll be back with more Mating Matters podcast after this. The Dr. Wendy Walsh Show on KFI AM 640 Los Angeles every Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m., where we talk about everything in relationships. The good, the bad, the ugly, the smart. Whether you are looking for a relationship, whether you're looking to keep a mate, whether you're looking to recover after you've lost a mate, I have the science of love for you. You can download the iHeartRadio app and listen to the Dr. Wendy Walsh Show anytime. You can also hear it live every Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific Time on KFI AM 640. Welcome back to Mating Matters, the podcast that looks at human behavior through a lens of evolutionary psychology. I'm Dr. Wendy Walsh. What is Elizabeth Lloyd's theory on female orgasm? Here she is again, a faculty scholar at the Kinsey Institute. Your book that came out in 2005 is called The Case of the Female Orgasm. It's been called a scientific review of all the literature on women's ability to orgasm. In fact, Dr. Lloyd, you analyzed 30 years of studies that were designed to prove that women's orgasms evolved only to make us better people by reproducing, right? What?
Yes.
First of all, before you tell your byproduct theory, and I can't wait to talk about this, all those disproven theories over the last 30 years, what were they mostly based on that allowed them to exist?
Well, I like to call it locker room talk because I think that's where the knowledge came from. It certainly didn't come from science or most of it scientific investigation. It came from common everyday misunderstandings of female sexuality, also known as the locker room.
So even male scientists had a bias because of locker room talk.
Yeah.
Okay. So, drum roll, please. Dr. Elizabeth Lloyd came up with the byproduct theory. Explain it to us.
Well, I can't take full credit for this. It's a version of Donald Simon's theory. He was an anthropologist who believes and argued a slightly different version of this. Male and female embryos, when we start out developing as tiny embryos, share the same basic body plan during the first 2 months of life in the uterus. And during this period, the nerve and tissue pathways for orgasm get laid down in the body because males need orgasm in order to impregnate the female and reproduce successfully, right?
Right.
But the view is that females, because we share the same basic body plan, we get all the orgasm material for free, the nerves, the muscles, the erectile tissues. It's just like the male nipple. Men have nipples because women need them to nurse, and we come from the same basic body plan, so they get the nipples too. Well, they need orgasms in order to reproduce, but we get the orgasms because we share the same basic body plan.
Aha. So the clitoris is a tiny little premature penis?
Absolutely right.
I knew it. And I will say, having had a little bit of experience in this area, there are some men who have a lot of nipple sensitivity and some men who have absolutely none. Again, all byproduct, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And there's a huge amount of variability. It's not under selection. It's just random. I mean, there isn't any rhyme or reason to it.
And so we have
get a lot of variability with women's orgasm too.
And don't we have a diagnosis of anorgasmic women? Like somehow there's something wrong with women if they don't have orgasms?
Well, I don't like to think of it as being something wrong. They're different than women who do have orgasms. But about 1 in 10 women don't actually have orgasms, even though many of them have tried. This doesn't mean that they never can. And it's always, I think, worth exploring and trying new things. But by the way, one of the papers that your friend Justin Garcia and I did explored the different ways that women have orgasm, and we discovered that there's 3 different methods that are very reliable at leading to female orgasm.
Oh, do tell.
The 3 ways are a combination of deep kissing, genital petting, and oral sex.
It's so simple, guys. Just learn to kiss better.
Yeah.
I also have a theory that not just a theory. When I interviewed Dr. Cindy Meston at the University of Texas for an episode we called Women's Intelligent Bodies, she was also talking about the psychosocial factors as well, right? If you've been told that it's wrong or bad, or if you can't get enough of a Harlequin romance going on in your head, that your own psychology can have trouble there, right? So I do believe that your thoughts are things, and your thoughts inform your body on how to respond. And that is equally, I mean, you can have the best date in the world who's going to town down below, but if you're thinking about paying your bills and cleaning your house and taking care of your kids, it ain't going to happen, right?
Yes, or you feel too guilty about it, or you feel too ashamed, or you feel ashamed of your body, or you feel ashamed of having someone be that intimate with you. You probably are not going to have an orgasm.
You know, one of the things I want people to understand, though, is by coming up with your theory, the byproduct theory of female orgasm, you are not dismissing the importance of female orgasm, right?
Not in any way. In fact, in a way, it highlights the importance because it makes it not about reproduction. It makes it its own special thing.
About female pleasure.
Yeah.
Before we go, Dr. Lloyd, do you have any parting advice for men and women as they're trying to navigate their own sex lives together?
Well, I do, and this has to do with a study that I did with a neurophysiologist named Kim Wallen. And what we found, and it's been verified by outside studies, different labs than ours, was that it's actually the distance between the clitoris and the opening of the vaginal canal that is what makes the difference between whether a woman has an orgasm with intercourse or not. It's her anatomy. It's not him. It's not her. It's not something wrong with them. It's not anything wrong with anybody. It's just anatomy.
So if the clitoris is lower and closer to the vaginal opening, more likely a vaginal orgasm?
That's correct, yes.
Which is really a clitoral orgasm, just inside a bit.
Yes. And in fact, it's predictive. We can predict it.
Okay, you've just explained my body. Thank you very much. Dr. Elizabeth Lloyd, what a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you so much.
One thing I can say for sure, and this is mostly conjecture and my own personal opinion, that so often when we are guided by cultural ideas of patriarchy, women sometimes adopt a male model of things because in many cases, men came first. And so this idea that women have been pressured to have orgasms, and specifically vaginal orgasms, has caused many women to think that there's something wrong with their bodies. In addition, if you listen to the Mating Matters podcast called Women's Intelligent Bodies, where I interview Dr. Cindy Meston at the University of Texas, Austin, we learn that women's sexuality and women's sexual response system is very different from those of men. For instance, women are far less likely, when they're in between relationships, to replace their partner with pornography or even masturbation. The orgasm is less necessary for women's physiological function. She can go on with her job and her kids and just get stuff done. Of course, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting female pleasure and wanting to have an orgasm and wanting to have as many orgasms as possible and wanting to have all different kinds of orgasms. However, I don't think we should be putting pressure on women who may just not have the anatomy to achieve orgasm or even frequent orgasm. We need to understand that women's bodies are very different from men's bodies. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Mating Matters. I'm Dr. Wendy Walsh. We'll see you next time.